I watched Christopher Reeve's Superman movies and felt something unexpected. Sadness. In an interview with Collider for his director's cut of the second film, Richard Donner said this.
Everything we have to do is two things. One, we got to convince the audience a man can fly, which became a motto, the logo. And we had to convince everybody it's a love story.
That right there is why Christopher Reeve and Richard Donner's two Superman films are still considered to be in the pantheon of the genre. The movies feel like a grand, operatic, and mythic two-act Greek tragedy. They are one continuous story about a legendary hero and his journey navigating both his destiny and love. And in this video, I will explore the brilliant way in which these films make us believe in a modern myth and showcase the tragedy of love lost. Spoilers. All those things I can do, all those powers, and I couldn't even save him. These are the words Clark Kent says at his father's funeral in the first act of the first film. This not only teaches the character a lesson that he can't save everyone, but it introduces the idea that all men, even a Superman, will experience loss in their lives. Throughout the first film, we get to see Clark Kent meet and become infatuated with Lois Lane. And on the flip side, we see Lois Lane meet and become infatuated with Superman. They are like two ships passing by one another in the middle of the night, until the interview. Maybe the most iconic scene in Superman's cinematic history so far. The scene in which he can finally share his story with someone. He can be slightly open and let the people of Earth know they are not alone. And then, beautifully, instead of bringing that person down to Earth with him, he lifts her up to see things from his one-of-a-kind perspective, even if just for a fleeting moment. He can share his experience with someone. And subtextually speaking, that act of lifting her up is his mission statement to the world. That's what he will do for everyone. But that's the best he can do. Have that fleeting moment. He wants to share more, but can't bring himself to open up. This adds to Superman's inherent loneliness as the ultimate outsider. The first film's climax is Lois dying and Superman being so struck with grief that he finds a way to save her. He turns back time, and it staves off the pain of losing love like the day he lost Pa Kent. In the second film, a determined Lois Lane uncovers the truth that Clark Kent is Superman, at the risk of forever traumatizing her already anxious and socially awkward coworker by pointing a gun at him and shooting him with a blank. But that's not that important. This allows Superman to drop the facade and end his loneliness and take a leap to open up and pursue love. Superman then tells his Kryptonian father that he's found love, and Jor-El acts as though Clark just told him he's taking a semester off to go backpacking through Europe with his freshman year roommate who sold his big brother's weed out of their dorm. No, Dad, I promise, I wasn't one of his customers. He tells Superman that his happiness should derive from helping people. Superman pursuing something he wants is acting outside of his role as a mythic protector. Jor-El is extremely disappointed in his son due to the expectations Jor-El placed on him the day he was sent off Krypton. Jor-El states that the father becomes the son. That's untrue. Jor-El was allowed to find love and become a father, all while becoming someone who cared for Krypton and tried to protect it. Is that why he placed extra restrictions on Kal? Maybe it's because of the Kryptonian prophecy of the father becoming the son and the son becoming the father. Or maybe it's because he failed and his world died. People would not follow him because he was only a man. And a man isn't enough. They needed a Superman. Kal is burdened by his father's wishes, expectations, guilt, and dreams. He believes Kal can be better than the humans he walks amongst. But maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe it's not that Kal can just be better than man. Maybe he can be better than Jor-El too. These films frame personal pursuit as being selfish and sinning. They do so very clearly with Zod and Lex Luthor, whose relentless pursuit of power and personal gain corrupts them. And in choosing to pursue his own personal desires rather than focus on his duties, Superman is acting like his enemies. Superman is sinning. On the surface, these movies are not interested with the man portion of Superman. Clark Kent is simply the facade, the bumbling goof that Superman pretends to be in order to blend in. The films seem more intrigued by the idea of Kal-El, the prophet, the Jesus allegory, the mythic hero burdened by the sins of his father, the God sent to Earth who is singularly focused with the task of protecting us all. Or, well, at least that's what he's supposed to be. But in that discussion with his father, we see the truth. Superman doesn't want that for his life. He wants to love. But in order to pursue a relationship with a human, Superman must become one of us. In the pursuit of happiness, he must relinquish his role as protector. He does so, and within a few hours, he gets beaten bloody by some rando at the local diner. It's a tough look in front of your new girlfriend, Clark, I gotta be honest with you. But what's truly heartbreaking about this scene is its framing of the Clark Kent persona turned reality. After a mere mortal makes Clark bleed, Clark jokingly says they may need to hire a bodyguard. To which Lois replies, quote, "I don't want a bodyguard. I want the man I fell in love with," end quote. And Clark sadly replies, "I know that, Lois. I wish he were here." And that means just being Clark Kent is not enough. Certainly not enough to protect the planet. Seemingly not enough to defend himself. And heartbreakingly, maybe not enough for the woman he loves. In a behind-the-scenes feature for the film, it is revealed that the creative consultant for the movie, Tom Mankiewicz, made the point that Clark should never kiss Lois. Only Superman should kiss Lois. The notion that Superman being the disguise and Clark being the real identity became more popular after these films were released. And it is a change that I have said before, I am thankful for, as I personally prefer it. But in this film, Clark must go back and confront his father one final time and confess to his sin of running away from responsibility in the pursuit of happiness, leading to the pain of others. This causes Clark to once again lose a father, as Jor-El's consciousness must combine with Clark to restore his powers. He must once again feel the pain of love lost. Once again, not being able to save his father. Superman reemerges, valiantly battles against Lex and the Kryptonians, outsmarts them all, and saves the day. But it comes at a cost. His relationship with Lois Lane. Superman must feel the hurt once more, but this time it's worse than ever before, because he's not alone in that pain. Lois feels the immense pain of their relationship ending, and Superman, being the ultimate protector that he is, turns back time once again, mirroring the climax of the first film, but this time seemingly undoing the entirety of this film, which is, again, I'll touch on that a little bit later. Regardless, he once again saves Lois Lane, this time not from the grips of death, but from the emotional depths of heartbreak. You could, of course, read this more as Superman just protecting his secret identity by making sure the world's greatest reporter doesn't feel the urge to tell the world who he is. But Superman is that mythic hero his father dreamt of. So I read it as taking away someone's suffering, even if it means he is suffering in that alone. I mentioned this before, but Superman is known as an inherently lonely character both in the comics and across multimedia. One of my favorite Superman stories is For the Man Who Has Everything, where it explores Superman's true desires for a family and life on Krypton. Go watch that episode of the Justice League animated series if you haven't already. And I think it's true for most iterations of the character. He's an alien with no real way of connecting with his people, his lineage. He can share his abilities and perspective with people, but like I said before, it's for fleeting moments. And by the end of this second film, this is as lonely as the character can be. When he first connects with Jor-El, we hear Clark learn from his father, and we hear Jor-El say, quote, "In this next year, we shall examine the human heart. It is more fragile than your own," end quote. This is exemplified in this act of selflessness to take on this breakup on his own, because Superman would rather take on twice the pain than let another being handle any portion of it. To me, the superpower these movies have is their charm, the level of which embraces you and makes you feel so warm and comfortable that you forget about the hardships around it. It's the hug you desperately need to block out all the noise. Superman, and by extension these films, act as an adult amongst children in an emergency. They make us feel as if everything is okay, including everything being okay with themselves, even when they are surrounded by darkness. These movies aren't perfect by any means. I would actually describe them with a term I heard Bill Simmons use to describe NBA players. They're 90-10 movies, 90% incredible, and 10% glaringly flawed. I would even go so far as to say that Superman the movie, the first one, is basically perfect until the moment he comes into contact with Lex Luthor at the end and Lex's plan starts to get involved. But when these movies are soaring, they reach heights that modern comic book movies still aspire to reach. These movies are the blueprints for the genre, including two of my favorites in the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. And the reason for that is because of their otherworldly charm and what they mean to people. Christopher Reeve once said that Superman represents a friend. And to bounce off of what Clark Kent once said, quote, "You can't solve society's problems with a gun," end quote. No, Mr. Kent, you can't. But you can absolutely try to help by being a friend. Try to help by giving that hug, lending that helping hand, by smiling at someone, by giving them a look, letting them know it's all going to be okay. That is this movie's superpower, and that is this character's superpower. And whether Kal-El or Clark Kent is the true identity of this person, in the words of Lois Lane, you know, you're really super. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments section what you thought of the first two Superman movies. Over the next few weeks leading up to James Gunn's Superman film, I've decided to go back and dissect either an actor, director, or both's interpretation of Superman on the big screen. So if you'd like to see more, please hit the subscribe button. Be well, and I'll see you again next time.